All right, this is my 1994 GMC Sierra. It's got the 5.0 liter V8 in it, two-wheel drive. I'm pushing around 425,000 kilometers right now, not miles, kilometers. Truck runs really good, with the exception of the intermittent problem that I've had over the last 3 months. The problem was the truck would crank really slow or just wouldn't crank at all. If I boosted it, it would work sometimes it wouldn't. It was really inconsistent. And so obviously when this happens, the first thing you go to is the battery. You go, okay, let me check the battery. So this is my battery. This is a 3-month-old battery. 3-month-old battery, brand new battery. I always buy used ones, but I bought a new one this time. 3 months old. Checked it, got 12 volts, should be no issues with the battery. So, spoiler alert, it was the battery, but I didn't know that at the time. So, so I kept on working on the truck. I thought, okay, maybe it's the starter. So I bought a new starter and I replaced the starter, which is under the engine itself. I bought an oversized starter. I didn't know that at the time, so I had to remove a bunch of like shrouds and covers just to fit in, which was a real pain in itself. But I got it in. I said, okay, this is going to run now. Go to start it up, no luck. So I said, okay, maybe it's the positive cable that runs from the starter over to the battery. Maybe this is bad. Maybe there's a bad connection in it. So I said, okay, I'll just buy a new one. Because if you look, this is my old starter. Like, look how crappy it looks. And this is the connection. Like, it didn't seem like it was a very good connection. It didn't seem like it was a very good wire. I said, you know what, I'm just going to replace all that. So I replaced all that stuff. Absolutely no luck. Still did not run. So I said, okay, maybe it's the negative cable. Maybe it's not a good connection. So I cut a lot of plastic off here just to make sure there's good connection. And then I got my meter out. I checked the continuity in all these cables and in these wires in the junction box as well too. Everything seemed fine. So I replaced all the grounds on this truck because apparently that's a very common problem is the grounds. So I replaced the ground. There's a ground in there. There's one over there. And there's a ground behind the engine block itself, and it runs from the engine block over to the frame. So if I'll zoom in, I replaced it. It's a metal braid, right? But to get to this metal braid, you had to remove the air intake. You had to remove the junction box, take all these wires off and number them because you'll have to put this on back in the right order. Otherwise the truck won't fire or it'll fire improperly. So I did all that. I replaced it. I thought, okay, that's got to be the problem. Started up, tried to. Didn't work. So I said, okay, this is the only logical explanation. These wires. So these wires run from your ignition to your battery over to the solenoid, and the other one runs to the alternator, right? But I thought, okay, maybe there's like a bad connection in there. Maybe like one of these wires is burnt because I had a leak in my exhaust manifold for a while now. And I thought, okay, maybe this is like, burning one of the wires. So I just got in a big wormhole. I started cutting these wires and splicing them and, just trying to fix them. I just put a bunch of like new eyelets in, all this stuff, and it didn't work. And I thought, okay, let me check the fuses. So I checked the fuses, and if you can see, this is a bad fuse. Bear in mind, this is 1994, so there's a lot of bad fuses in this truck. It still runs though. Yeah, it wasn't that. So I pretty well threw in the towel. I said, you know what, man, I just can't fix this. I can't do it. I give up. I was going to throw it in the field. It's going to be farm art, And I watched this video last night. This guy had the same problem as me. Same symptoms. Everything seemed to add up. And it was the battery. This brand new battery that's like 2-3 months old. It was the battery. And what happened is the battery would produce 12 volts. So I put it in, everything would be fine. It would produce 12 volts. When I cranked the engine, it would jump from 12 volts to like 2 volts. So it had a bad cell and it just wouldn't produce the power when I needed it. So I did all this work. I made this big mess for myself to clean up, and I still have to put new parts in. just, you know, fix things, because once you start ripping into these trucks, like, you'll realize a lot of this stuff is like broken. Like, I mean, look at this, like, this just falls right off, right? Like, so yeah, it's a lot of work for me to do. So yeah, bear in mind, if you ever need to do something on your truck, just really make sure it's the battery's fine before you move on to bigger problems like this.